There is a specific kind of silence that doesn't come from peace, but from a long, quiet erosion. You know the person. Perhaps you are that person. The one who never raises their voice, who breathes through the chaos, who remains the steady anchor while everyone else is drifting into the storm. To the world, you are a marvel of emotional regulation. They call you the rock, the composed one, the person who has it all figured out. But if we were to peel back the layers of that calm, what we find isn't usually a lake of tranquility. It is often a frozen sea, a vast, cold expanse where the waves have been forced to stop moving, not because they wanted to, but because they had to. To always be calm is to carry an invisible shield, one so heavy and so constant that you've likely forgotten you're even holding it. We celebrate this trait in our society. We treat it as the ultimate virtue of adulthood. But there is a profound difference between the calm of a monk who has processed his shadows and the calm of a survivor who has simply learned how to hide them. For many, this perpetual stillness is actually a form of sophisticated disappearance. It is a quiet contract you signed long ago that your role in this life is to be the container for everyone else's emotions, while your own are relegated to the basement, locked away in boxes you've promised never to open. If you find yourself unable to get angry, even when you've been wronged, if you feel a strange, hollow distance when things go wrong, if your first instinct in a crisis is to go numb and fix rather than feel, then this stillness is not your superpower, it is your cage. We have to wonder, what happens to the electricity of a human soul when it is never allowed to spark? Where does the fire go when the chimney is blocked? It doesn't just vanish, it stays inside, slowly charring the walls of the heart until everything feels brittle, gray, and exhausted. This internal architecture usually begins in a house where there wasn't enough room for more than one person's feelings. Perhaps you grew up in a home where emotions were a luxury you couldn't afford. Maybe one parent was a hurricane, unpredictable and loud, and you realized early on that if you were a hurricane too, the house would collapse. So you became the lighthouse. You learned to stand perfectly still, shining a light for others to find their way, never wavering, never complaining about the salt spray or the wind. You learned that your value was tied to your lack of needs. To be easy was to be loved. To be calm was to be safe. In psychology, we often look at this as a form of emotional over-control. While the world fears those who lose control, there is a quieter, more insidious pain in those who can never let go of it. It's a state of perpetual hypervigilance disguised as composure. You aren't calm because you are relaxed. You are calm because you are scanning the horizon for the next threat, and you've decided that the only way to survive it is to be unshakable. It is a survival mechanism born from the realization that if you were to actually express the depth of your hurt or the scale of your exhaustion, the people around you might not know what to do with it, or worse, they might leave. Consider the metaphor of the Great Dam. A dam is a magnificent feat of engineering. It holds back millions of gallons of water, keeping the valley below safe and dry. It looks powerful, stoic, and permanent. But a dam is under constant, agonizing pressure. Every inch of its concrete face is fighting against the natural urge of the water to flow, to crash, to move. To maintain that calm surface, the dam must endure a structural strain that eventually leads to microfissures. If the water is never let through the spillways, the dam doesn't just stay strong forever, it eventually reaches a point of catastrophic failure. For the person who is always calm, the spillways of the soul, crying, shouting, grieving, or even belly laughing, have often been rusted shut by years of neglect. This leads us to a concept known as structural dissociation. It sounds clinical, but it feels like living your life through a pane of glass. You are there, you are participating, you are saying the right things, but you are a few inches removed from the actual experience. When something tragic happens, you handle the logistics. When someone hurts you, you understand their perspective so deeply that you forget to feel your own resentment. You've become an expert at intellectualizing your pain before you've had the chance to inhabit it. You aren't over it, you've just bypassed it. You've traded your vitality for a sense of control. There is a specific kind of loneliness in being the one who is always calm. Because you never show your cracks, people assume you don't have any. They lean on you until your shoulders ache, never thinking to ask if the weight is too much, because you never let your knees buckle. You become a victim of your own competence. The more you hold it together, the more the world expects you to. And slowly, the calm becomes a mask that is fused to your skin. You start to wonder if there's even a real you left underneath, or if you've simply become the functions you perform for others. This is the psychology of the invisible child grown up. It is the result of a childhood where your goodness was measured by your silence. You were the child who never gave us any trouble, the one who was so mature for their age. But mature is often just a code word for a child who had to abandon their own development to take care of the adults around them. You learned to read the room before you learned to read yourself. You learned that big emotions lead to big problems, so you shrank yours until they were microscopic. But where does the energy go? Physics tells us that energy cannot be destroyed, only transformed. In the human body, suppressed emotion often transforms into physical tension, into a chronic buzz of anxiety that sits in the back of the skull, or into a profound sense of anhedonia, the inability to feel pleasure. If you dampen the lows, you inadvertently dampen the highs. By refusing to feel the sharp edge of anger or the heavy weight of sadness, you also lose the ability to feel the soaring heights of joy or the warm glow of true intimacy. You end up living in a beige world, safe from the storms, but starved of the sunlight. We must look at the cost of composure. When we are always calm, we are essentially living in a state of functional freeze. Our nervous system has decided that the environment is too dangerous for a full emotional response, so it shuts down the ports. It's like a computer running in safe mode. You can perform the basic tasks, you can get through the day, but you can't run the high-level programs that make life worth living. You are surviving, but you're not exactly present. Think of a forest. A healthy forest needs the occasional fire to clear out the underbrush, to crack open the seeds that only grow after a burn. A forest that is always calm, where nothing ever dies and nothing ever burns, eventually becomes stagnant. It chokes on its own growth. Your emotional life is the same. The explosions we so fear, the raw honesty, the messy tears, the righteous anger, are the fires that clear the path for new growth. Without them, we are just a collection of old dry wood, waiting for a spark we are too terrified to light. There is also a deep-seated fear of the flood. For those who have spent decades being the calm center, there is a subconscious belief that if they ever let one emotion out, all of them will come out. If I cry once, I will never stop. If I get angry once, I will destroy everything I've built. This fear keeps the seal tight. It turns the calm into a desperate act of preservation. You are afraid of your own depth. You treat your inner self like a monster in a cage, convinced that the only way to be good is to keep the monster sedated. But what if that monster isn't a monster at all? What if it's just a hungry, lonely version of you that has been waiting in the dark for a long time? What if your anger is actually a guardian, trying to tell you that your boundaries are being crossed? What if your sadness is a teacher, trying to show you what you truly value? By staying calm, you are ignoring the very messengers who have the map to your freedom. You are ignoring the parts of yourself that are screaming to be heard, even if they are screaming in a language of silence. The tragedy is that the always calm person is often the most empathetic person in the room. You can feel everyone else's vibration. You can sense the tension in a coworker's voice or the hidden sorrow in a friend's eyes. You have developed a high-definition radar for the needs of others because, as a child, your safety depended on it. But that radar is never turned inward. You are a genius at decoding the world and illiterate at decoding your own heart. You can tell someone else why they are hurting, but when asked why you are hurting, you simply shrug and say, "I'm fine, just tired." But fine is the most dangerous word in the English language. Fine is the graveyard of the soul. It is the place where we bury our desires and our pains so that we don't have to deal with the messy reality of being human. To be always calm is to be perpetually fine even when the world is crumbling around you.
And while that might make you a great person to have in an emergency, it makes you a ghost in your own life. We have to ask, who are you protecting with your calmness? Are you protecting yourself, or are you protecting the people around you from the inconvenience of your humanity? Most of the time, the shield is held up to keep others comfortable. We stay calm because we don't want to be too much. We don't want to be the dramatic. We don't want to be the problem. But in the process of becoming no problem, we become no one. We lose the texture of our personality. We become a smooth marble surface that everyone can walk on, but no one can truly hold. The cost of this constant preservation is a slow, quiet thinning of your existence. You become a shadow in your own story, a character who reacts but never initiates, who soothes but is never held. And the most painful part of this realization is that the world will rarely